Shari Sebuck is an independent contractor and a current Mount Pleasant resident who wants to tackle issues such as infrastructure, jobs, and housing. She tells me why she's running for Mount Pleasant Town Council for this edition of Quintin's Close-Ups. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel and like Quintin's Close-Ups on Facebook. Shari Sebuck, welcome to the award-winning Quintin's Close-Ups.
Thank you so much for having me on today. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Obviously, you're a mom, a wife, an independent contractor, and a Mount Pleasant resident. Now I understand that you want to serve on Mount Pleasant Town Council to tackle a lot of issues. Tell me, why, Shari, why Mount Pleasant Town Council?
Well, number one, I've lived here for over 21 years, and I love Mount Pleasant. I've seen a lot of changes as anyone who has been here for a good amount of time, probably even the last 5 years, has seen a lot of changes. But I would like to keep some of the Mount Pleasant charm that we're known for, and just kind of make sure that it doesn't become something that we're not intending to be. I want to, smart growth and preserve the charm and the beauty and the environment, but tackle some of the issues we've had as far as the growth that has already incurred, and really just keep it that small town vibe if we can, instead of becoming too big of a conglomerate where it takes away from the charm of the town that it was. I grew up around politics, and my parents worked for the government, so it was just a natural inclination to jump in when I thought, we could do some things more proactively to help the residents in the town. And I believe that silence condones the behavior, and I wanted to see some different changes. So I didn't want to stay silent. So here I am to have my voice heard, but to have my voice heard to represent the residents and the citizens of the town. I think it's important that people remember they elect officials to serve them. And that's here.
What has been the most important thing that has changed in the town of Mount Pleasant over the past 4 years?
The past 4?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, the past 4, traffic is always number one. It just almost gets to be like a rhetorical question at that point. Traffic is tough. I think that if we can continue finishing some of the projects that have already been approved and funded, that it will help alleviate some of that. But with that comes the growth and the building, and there's some of it is macroeconomics, but a lot of it, we have an ocean to one side of us, and that makes it, that's why we all want to live here, but that also makes it very challenging with growth, because you lose that land to spread things out. So now things are, Mount Pleasant is almost built out, so we're heading north, and we just need to manage things so that not only we can serve all citizens of Mount Pleasant, but make sure that we do that in a methodical and thoughtful and responsible way.
What is the quality of life of the town of Mount Pleasant right now?
I think the quality of life is great. Everyone's going to have problems with traffic. And it's all relative. I come from the DC area. You really can't talk to my friends up in the DC area. I grew up in Virginia about traffic. They will laugh at me. But it's relative. It's relative to our area and our population. To me, I think the quality of life in Mount Pleasant is very good. I think that we have to watch some things that are happening and stay ever present with the changes, and with the economy and with what is happening globally. I think that with some of these projects for traffic, growth, building, everything, we have to be very cognizant that inflation is definitely around the corner. We're already seeing some of that in markets, and that will drive the price up of even laying pavement for a road. So I think we need to be aware of a lot of those things and act responsibly on that too, and swiftly, maybe more swiftly than we have on some other projects.
What's more important for the town right now, Shari? Building new homes in commercial space, or rehabbing, expanding, and better utilizing the existing homes and storefronts?
That's an excellent question. So that's actually many, many layers. I think right now, to answer your question directly, I think for us to follow through with smart growth and to provide housing, as in affordable housing for people, I would love for us to be creative and look at some of these storefronts and buildings that possibly could be renovated. If the town either purchased them or if we bought bonds or something to outfit them and make them into affordable housing. You know, our teachers can't afford to live here. Our first responders have a difficult time purchasing homes here. And even if you say, you know, well, we'll build a townhome or something, still, you know, it's all relative. The price of a townhome here, because it's not a $700,000 home here, it's still out of reach. We have teachers and first responders and med techs or scrub nurses. Right. They commute from Somerville. So I have teacher friends that commute from Myrtle Beach and Pawleys Island. And we've got to find a creative way to provide affordable housing. And it's a real hot topic. People, I think we're in a very reactionary mode right now with politics, which is a shame. Instead of gathering facts and data and kind of listening to both sides before we react, I think when people hear the word affordable housing, they immediately think of like projects or something. And there's formulas for affordable housing. And the truth is we have an obligation to provide affordable housing. And so we're going to have to get creative. I would love to see us retrofit some of those abandoned buildings and things.
Okay, Shari, let me ask you, is it affordable housing? Is it attainable housing? Or is it workforce housing?
Well, I guess, you know, I would need to research more of what all those terms are referring to. A lot of people have different definitions for those. So conversationally, that can be misinterpreted. If that were brought before me as a councilwoman, I would want to know clearly what the definition of each one of those were and what that encompassed as far as population and needs that we're trying to meet before I answered that with any kind of authority.
Where in the town do you identify and also develop those unique characteristics when it comes to residential, commercial, and mixed use?
All right, you're going to have to say that again.
Where in the town do you identify and also develop those unique characteristics when it comes to residential, commercial, and mixed use?
Where in the town?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Well, I think wherever we build in the town, we need to, whether it's residential, commercial, or anything, I think that we need to try and keep some of that Mount Pleasant charm that has been our signature, whether it's with planting or being consistent with our government as far as setbacks and different zoning issues. I think that everyone has somewhat of a responsibility to help with that.
Okay. How do you maintain and enhance the existing residential and commercial character of the town and provide for compatible, appropriate, and high quality development and redevelopment?
How do you maintain it?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, again, I think you're looking for an answer that I'm not going to be able to give you, because really, I'm leery of jumping beyond property rights. Okay. How do you maintain it? I mean, well, I would like to see maybe, for instance, an ordinance to just stop clear cutting so that they will leave trees and replant swamp grasses, or at least see what the responsibility of the builder is there. And I think that there's a lot of sensitivity there, but at the same time, we have to be very, very careful of property rights. And when someone buys that land, we can encourage them to do something. We can make sure they're within the zoning. That's why it is so important to be involved in the discussion of how that zoning will be. Like when you see these zoning ordinances in the paper, that there's a meeting for this, show up and be a part of that conversation. Because what we can't do is say, you know what? We're too crowded. There's too much traffic. I don't want that land developed. Someone's been sitting on that land for 30 years. They purchased that land years ago. We have no right to tell them that they cannot develop it as long as they are a law-abiding citizen within the proper zoning. That they have the right to do that. And we don't have the right to tell them not to develop that. And I think that's really important for the residents to understand, so that they will actively become involved in some of those conversations instead of wait until after the fact and say, no, we don't want anything to go there. Why can't you just leave the trees? Yes, please, let's leave some trees so that we don't all become a floodplain or a flood zone that was not one before, because concrete does not hold water. Yet at the same time, we have no right to interfere with property rights of someone who has purchased that land.
Okay, let's go down to right there. It's right there, actually, right near Houston Northcutt, and obviously I'm talking about the old middle Cadillac property there. What exactly should go there in your mind?
Oh, well, now see, I don't know. To me, that's a great place to put a building that might house some affordable housing, where you could say, hey, first responders, or, so many people cross over that bridge to get to MUSC or Roper, teachers at Moultrie, at schools, Lucy Beckham, Wando, Lang. That would be a great place to put something like that.
Yes, ma'am. And speaking of which, how many homes in the town of Mount Pleasant have been built at a fairly consistent rate?
I don't know the answer to that question exactly. That is one of the things I would like to be a part of the discussion very much as a councilwoman. I do know that they have tried to be very thoughtful as far as managing the growth with homes. And there are some temporary restraints on some types of building, and just to allow the infrastructure to catch up. And I think that they did that. I think the present council has done that as thoughtfully as they can to meet the needs of everybody, really, but especially the infrastructure and the residents, and how all that building is impacting the town.
How should the town, Shari, plan to slow upward expansion of the town limits and focus on making necessary changes within the town limits?
Well, I think we need to expand growth to the upper north Mount Pleasant area. Yes. There's very little commerce that services them. I'm a big advocate for the live, work, play model. The people, the truth is that Mount Pleasant has already been annexed north.
Right.
So it's already part of Mount Pleasant. So why not provide them some, and I'm not talking about another storage unit. I'm not talking about another huge Lowe's or Home Depot, not the huge commercial things, but they need grocery stores. And, they need some services up that way. That is one of the ways that you can alleviate the impact of traffic as well. Right now, the annexed north part of Mount Pleasant is forced to drive into Mount Pleasant. And we're here, one of the big issues right now is traffic and how many people are on the roads. So I think we actually need to extend some of those services north.
Highway 41. I was just over there just a couple of days ago. Where should the common ground be with this conversation?
Where the common ground has to be between the Charleston County Council and our council. That is that pocket area with the Phillips community. Yes. And some of this area that is actually not the town of Mount Pleasant. And that a lot of people don't understand that, because those donuts, or as they're referred to as donuts, those pockets that are not in our realm, sometimes it's really hard to get everyone to the table and agree on things. And the delays have caused a lot of problems, not only with traffic, but with safety. And when you look at Highway 41 in the morning during the school rush hour, I mean, it can literally take 40 minutes to go 3.5 miles to get to Highway 17. It's ridiculous. And it's dangerous because, it's documented that most heart attacks and most things, some of these big health ailments that happen to our senior population or anyone, that it can happen to anyone, they're in the morning. It's documented that they are mostly in the morning. You can't even get an ambulance or a fire truck through there easily. There's no shoulders on the road. There's no place off that road to let people by or to mitigate the traffic differently. That really needs to be addressed. And someone, no matter how that is addressed, is not going to be happy. There is no way to please all of the people with whatever decision they make on how they're going to mitigate traffic in that area. I'm very, very empathetic to the Phillips community regarding their property rights. I am also, however, very empathetic to the people in Dunes West and Park West about their property rights. This is a very difficult situation, and I think it's going to take a lot of, I think it needs to be swift work, but you also have federal agencies, you have the Army Corps of Engineers, you have a lot of moving parts that need to be a part of this conversation. And I would like to look at traffic counts and all the things that are encompassed in this decision to see what the best plan for mitigation is. If I get elected, that's the first thing that I would look at. I actually happen to live down Highway 41, so I'm extraordinarily familiar with it. And it's a very sensitive topic. And like I said, there's no way you're going to please everyone. What I would like to see, though, is the least amount of impact to residents, to environment, and to pocketbook. I mean, we are going to see inflation. There's no way around it. We're already seeing it in the grocery stores. I know when I moved here 21 years ago, my realtor told us when my husband and I bought our house that Highway 41 would be 4 lanes by 2005. 2005. And there were plans for it to be 4 lanes, and it got delayed and pushed and delayed, and that funding then expired because you had to use it within a certain time frame. It expired, the funding was not available, and we started all over. That can't happen again. We need to, all sit down at the table and come up with some good compromise, a responsible compromise for the good of all people.
Should sidewalks be added along Highway 41?
Well, I think they've already added a lot of sidewalks, but yes, I think that we do as a town in general. I think we do need to finish the projects with the bike paths and the walkway. Not everyone, we need to provide other ways of transportation for everyone. A car is not the only way. I would like to see more public transportation. I would like to see more walkways, bike paths. We need to provide an alternative in that regard as well. I think as a nation in general, if I may make a general sweeping comment, we haven't been as thoughtful about that as some of maybe our European counterparts who have, a lot of people only ride a bicycle to work in some of our European counterparts or countries. And I think we need to be more thoughtful about that. I think that that's part of the way that the growth got ahead of us, and we were not able to keep up with that and kind of be more cognizant and proactive with providing that kind of transportation.
Besides Shari, in 6 Mile and 10 Mile, what other local communities in the town of Mount Pleasant need to be actually enhanced, elevated, and protected?
What other areas? Well, probably the Snowden community.
Okay.
The Snowden community is tough too because they're also another little pocket.
Yes.
And we do have a lot of little pockets like that. Each one has different needs. Each one has a different location that provides different challenges, and they need to all be addressed on a case-by-case basis and looked at, individually.
How do you hope the town of Mount Pleasant will work with the Mount Pleasant Waterworks to identify and provide opportunities in those settlement communities to connect to proper sewer?
Well, now you're getting into annexation and some of those other subjects that are hot topics as well. And I understand the plight of some of these settlement communities. They don't want to be annexed because it drives up their taxes and there's a lot of pros and cons. However, they are in the heart of Mount Pleasant. So from the town side, not only are their presence impacting the community, they use the grocery stores, they use our roads, they go to our schools, but from their side, they've been here a long time. And if we, like for instance, I just had I went to the settlement event this past week, and I had a really interesting conversation with Thomasina.
Oh, yes.
And I did not know. I'm so grateful for the work that she did to get the senior center.
Right.
And I hope that we're able to put another one in North Mount Pleasant. See, there's a great example to your question earlier. They need more services out there that way as well. I would love for us to provide some more resources for the senior population up there too. The senior center is so crowded. The one senior center that we have for the 90,000 plus citizens, it's so crowded you can barely get in there. And I'm eligible for that senior center. And I mean, although I can be a member, I can't go during the times that I can go because there's so many other people. I love when I have like a virtual learning day or something like that where I can kind of sneak in there. So we need to provide those services. She was telling me, however, though, that some of these settlement communities that she fought so hard to get that senior center in, price is almost doubled for them to join because they're not Mount Pleasant. So they can't go for the price that I can go for because I am a resident of the town of Mount Pleasant and not in that donut hole. Right. And their price is almost double, which then makes it unaffordable for them to go. So I'm wondering if there's a way that, yes, they're in our vicinity, but they're the county. We've got to come up with a way that we can provide services to them, water, senior center, anything like that. Is there a way that we can provide an overlay zoning or something that will protect them but include them? Is there a creative way that we can do this? Because what we have now is not working. We've got to find a different way. So I'm hoping that when on council that some creative options can be looked at that way so that we can provide services for them too. Most of these communities are on septic. That can be a huge problem for them and for us with hurricanes or any earthquakes, any kind of disasters like that, even for their general health and well-being.
How would you push for safety measures within the region's new and existing transportation facilities?
I'm sorry, I was distracted. Could you repeat the question?
Oh, no worries. How would you push for safety measures within the region's new and existing transportation facilities?
Well, I would like to see more public transportation. Transportation's interesting here. I think that there's a big need to... I'm sorry, you're good. I just had to borrow your room. Sorry, I'm just letting my son know that I took over his room for a while.
No worries.
And he's being very gracious about
that. Yeah, good guy.
Okay, so I would like to see a whole lot more creative options. Now, some of these things can be very, very simple. Here is a burning personal issue for me. When I'm driving down 17 and trucks are coming out of that port and they're coming onto 17 from 526 Long Point, which they're not supposed to be on anyway, or wherever it is. And they line up 3 lanes across on 17. Some of those trucks have heavy loads. So when they stop at a red light and they try and go again, it takes them a long time to be able to get going. If they're empty, they can go as swiftly as a car. Why can't we have a truck lane? Just like on 526, the trucks are supposed to stay to the right. Do they? Well, all you can do is try and encourage them to do that, unless it is literally ticketed or something like that. But if we could just say, hey, look, truck lane to the right, it would at least allow 2 lanes of traffic to keep moving freely on Highway 17 instead of get stuck behind 3 trucks going across at a red light who are having trouble getting going when the light turns green because of the loads they have in their containers. Simple things like that. I think CARTA has tried to improve some of their routes and kind of look at what is needed. I actually have I'm trying to get to ride the bus. I haven't heard back from them yet, but public transportation definitely, they've done well. They need to continue providing services. What about HOV lanes? Or let's say on 41. I know that the Phillips community does not want 4 lanes across. Okay, well, nor does Dunes West Park West. So what if we had one of those lanes? This is very, very popular in higher populated towns. They literally can have an arm, like a gate arm, that will be on a timer, and say in the morning when everyone, instead of riding school buses or whatever, is traveling, workers, a lot of moms do take their kids. That's a totally different topic, and that is a school board issue, not a town of Mount Pleasant issue with the buses. But why don't we have one of those lanes that switches? So when it is a high density time for commuters going north on 41 or even south on 41, we can have that middle lane accessed only for the high traffic direction, north or south. And you literally can have a gate that will come down so that people can't make the mistake and go north when traffic is coming south, or south when traffic is heavily going north. Obviously, on 41 in the morning going towards 17, you're going to want to help that traffic go towards 17. But at 4 and 5 o'clock, that traffic going out towards Park West, Dunes West, Planters Point, Rivertown needs to be in the other direction. So there are some creative ways that we can look at this, but prudent ways that we can try and mitigate this problem. It just has to be brought to the table and be part of the conversation. And like I said, I think we all need to try and do what's best for as many people as possible, knowing that not everyone is going to be happy with whatever decision is made, no matter what. There's no way you're going to get 100%, yes, this is what I want. It just doesn't happen. So our responsibility is to the citizens, and because we are still a democracy, you try and do what is best for the majority of the citizens with the less impact or negative impact to the town. And in the traffic, I would like to see some of these creative ideas at least addressed or talked about to see if that can help.
And this is a redundant question, Shari, but how can the town minimize port-related traffic with that mobility plan?
So I didn't hear the last part, the port mobility traffic with the what?
Yeah, how can the town minimize port-related traffic with that mobility plan?
With my hypothetical plan I just gave. The hypothetical plan? Well, port-related traffic, in my opinion, really needs to be kept on 526 and the routes that direct it towards, I know sometimes it will have to get on 17, but if they could just follow, they've got, Long Point is so narrow, and it's historical. It's a beautiful route. I mean, that needs to be addressed at some time too. But it's clearly stated with signs that the 18-wheeler traffic is not supposed to be on there, and there's a lot of reasons for that. Not only for the safety because of the size of the road and the narrow passage. I mean, if you're in Snee Farm and you're trying to turn left out of Snee Farm onto Long Point Road, it's a bear. I mean, it's very, very difficult, and it's dangerous. There's blind spots, and do we want another traffic light? Probably not. Do we need something to make that safer? Absolutely yes. What is that solution? The trucks, they're like I said, they're heavy. They cause, with that incessant traffic, they can cause potholes. They can cause wear and tear even to the minimized shoulder that is there. Just because sometimes they're actually too wide to pass through, especially with some of these SUVs. I've seen some really close calls, even with side view mirrors being scraped. So if we can designate that, hey, when you're coming out of the port, stay on 526 to head down towards 17 and then pick up the route that way. It's a simple solution. Enforcing it is the other issue, though. I mean, if they know that it's not going to be enforced, and they think that they can beat time, for truckers, it's all about that time log. It's all about getting their deliveries and how many that they can get. So, it's a multifaceted problem.
Yes, ma'am. And the lawnmower guy is coming around, so I have to cut this short, unfortunately. But what has been the growth rate within the town of Mount Pleasant over the past 10 years?
The growth rate? In the past 10 years? Well, I know I would be confident to say that it has been exponential growth. I know that it has doubled. I want to say that it's doubled in the probably the last 10 to 15 years. The impact of that, though, is what you have to look at with the schools. I actually have been extraordinarily involved with the school improvement councils. They're called SICs. In the public schools, they are actually required by law to have an SIC. Some are more active than others. I have chosen to be very active. They're more of like the political arm, and I say that loosely, whereas the PTAs and PTOs deal with more of the inside makings of the school. They do fundraising. SICs cannot do fundraising. But for instance, when the growth was happening exponentially and affecting the schools, I fought very hard to have, they wanted to provide schools with only 900 seats, yet Carolina Park hadn't even been built out, and a lot of other communities were being built in Park West, Dunes West. 900 seats in a school for the new Jenny Moore and Lang, that would have been like buying a size 7 shoe because it was on sale when you wear a 9. It was not going to fit the moment you took it out of the box, even though you got a good price on it. It didn't matter. So I fought very hard to get those seats to the maximum that were allowed by whatever formula was used, which was 1,200 seats at the time. And all of those things are very necessary to be looked at. I think my background with School Improvement Council has probably been one of the more advantageous experiences for me to ready myself for town council and some of the issues that we need to address like that.
Where are you with Moms for Liberty?
I actually am a believer in parental rights. I know that now I think it needs to be done responsibly. I think that Moms for Liberty has been confused with Sons of Liberty. There's been a lot of references made to Sons of Liberty. They are not at all one and the same. Moms for Liberty just started in January. They are a member-driven base. There is no dark money given to Moms for Liberty. They are simply wanting the best education and this is my understanding, the best education and the best well, let's just leave it at that. The best education and the best circumstances were surrounding that for their children. And actually, I don't know one parent that doesn't want that for their children. I know for me personally, I was, like I said, I've been very active in the schools. I was always homeroom mom in elementary school. My husband and I have a lot of vested time as volunteers with coaching through the rec department. Fighting for, and even using the word fighting gets misconstrued right now because of the sensitivity that so many people have towards some of these issues. But I'd say advocating for my children and for others and the well-being in schools. So I hate that Moms for Liberty has been labeled as they have, because I really think that their mission is good. They've been labeled as some kind of radical group. But I will tell you that every parent is the most important advocate for their own child. No government agency will know their children as well as they do. I have a son who, out of the womb, was 2 charts ahead in size and weight, a large baby. And because of that, he was literally picked on mercilessly in elementary school. And a lot of times kids who are bigger, taller, whatever, any trouble there is, they're labeled as a bully, and it's blamed on them, whether they're part of it or not. My older son, I'm talking about my older son, he happens to be a gentle giant. And he was, when he entered middle school, he was 6'4" when he entered 6th grade. And that is quite unusual. So I am very grateful that I was involved in the schools and could advocate for him, because there were days that he would get into that car and burst into tears when he was in 2nd grade and just say, why did God make me so big? Why did he make me such a freak, as the kids were calling him? And I said, I don't know. He needs you to be big and strong to serve, fulfill his purpose in you. And that will be revealed to us someday. And that is not for us to decide. We just have to honor that. Well, he now plays football last year he played football for the University of South Carolina. He's now 6'5", 300 pounds. He took a gap semester this year. He was entertaining some different options, but he is actually going to return to the University of South Carolina to continue football there. And, it's kind of like that country music song, How Do You Like Me Now? I just think that parents have to be involved. The well-being, the emotional and mental well-being of my son was at stake at that time. If I would not have been involved, who knows what would have happened. We have the right through our Constitution to not only advocate for our kids, but ask what's being taught to them. We have a right to weigh in. It's freedom responsibly. I don't want them to become radical people, but I don't understand how you can label someone who is just concerned about the well-being of their child as a domestic terrorist. It's just, we have the right by our Constitution to petition our government. We have the right to ask questions and weigh in on a topic. I guess I could flip the question and say, why do these school boards and these schools not want parental involvement? Because boy, when those teachers sure need help making copies and getting assistance that they need, they sure could use it. But what are they trying to hide if they don't want it? I don't understand. I just don't understand the flip.
Now, let me turn back over to obviously issues within the town of Mount Pleasant. Would you be in favor of establishing a state-of-the-art connectivity system that connects residents and visitors to the top attractions in the town and recreational spots?
For visitors and tourists to the town, sure.
And let me ask you this. What current and public-private partnerships would you be in favor of expanding for when it comes to infrastructure in the town?
Okay, I'm having trouble hearing you. You're breaking up, so I don't know if the lawnmower is behind you.
Yeah,
but
he is. Yeah.
Yeah,
But,
I got like every third word there.
Okay. Well, unfortunately, we'll have to wrap it up here. But Shari Sebuck, thank you so much for your time. And again, welcome to the award-winning Quintin Close-Ups.
Quintin, thank you so much. What a delightful morning to spend in a conversation with you. And thank you so much for inviting me on your show. And I wish you the best of success and continued success with your talk show.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.